I'm joined by the co-founders, well, Miss Rachel Renie and Mr. David Thomas of Farm and Function, here to speak about their business enterprise and how it's developing TNT's agricultural sector and boosting exports. Good morning, Mr. Thomas and Ms. Renie.
Morning. Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you very much for joining me this morning. Ms. Renie, let me start with you. This particular idea of Farm and Function, how was it envisioned, and what do you see its purpose as being?
Its purpose as, sorry?
Being. What would you say is its purpose, Farm and Function TT?
Oh, so Farm and Function came out, David and I started our first company, D Market Movers, 15 years ago. And Farm and Function came out of creating a physical product around health and convenience. Our business has always been around supporting local. So we launched a line of locally grown frozen fruits for the smoothie sector. When we looked on the shelf, we realized that there was no local options on the shelf. There was always blueberries or strawberries. And we wanted to give Caribbean people a taste of their local fruits. So we have frozen pawpaw, pineapple, passion fruit, mango, guava. And we really want to preserve the Caribbean way of life by, supporting local farmers and then having our customers, giving them access to local ingredients. So, and David and I love smoothies, so...
Well, I certainly love fruit smoothies, and you're absolutely right. You tend to see a lot more imported products, such as the strawberries, the mixed berries, rather than local produce in our freezers when we go to the groceries. But that's just a lesson for people watching. Sometimes when you do basic observations, it probably doesn't click in your mind, but there's always opportunity everywhere. Mr. Thomas, let me now come to you and ask you, how has your business, developed over time, especially following COVID-19? Is it expanding? Is the demand for the local frozen fruit increasing?
Yeah, well, we've had an increase. It's coming out of the pandemic and all that. We would have seen, they've had to have shortfalls in imports and all of that. So there was a space that we saw and that we quickly rushed in to occupy with regards to our local frozen fruit. And since then, it has grown. We're in all major supermarkets right now. We recently started in PriceSmart, so you can go out and support us there, right? So we've been there for the past 2 months. And we continue, we also export as well. So we're in Barbados and Dominica. And so we continuously look for new markets, and we want to spread our product as far as possible throughout the region. So we've definitely been on a growth trajectory.
But also, have you been able to expand your processing facility? Because given that you are exporting to regional islands as well, and you'd like to expand beyond that, do you have the facilities to actually ensure that the output meets the demand?
Well, right now, what we started off with, we've definitely grown from that. Right now, we can handle the capacity, but as it grows, there's definitely plans to increase that capacity. Probably within the next couple, maybe like 2 years, we'll look into expanding to a bigger facility. But what we did is that we kind of set ourselves up first, so that when the capacity, when the request comes, we're able to handle the capacity. We didn't want to be caught out and just then trying to figure it out. So we kind of set everything up first, and then we were like, okay, we're ready to go out into the market now.
Yeah, we're always thinking of how to future-proof the business.
So is it that your relationship with the local farming sector here in TNT is good enough that you've been able to create your own supply model?
Yeah, for sure. So we work very closely with farmers, local farmers, and we try to attract, producers who are like-minded, who are really passionate about what they do and about their craft. So, and open to training and building their capacity. So we work very closely with our farmers. We set that standard. We commit to agreements where we take a certain amount of supply over a period of time, and really support their growth, because it's, your supply chain is everything, right? When that COVID-19 hit and our demand increased, we were able to work with our farmers to scale their production as well. And with local fruits, it takes time. It's longer investment in terms of just, how long it takes for a pineapple to produce or how long it takes for a pawpaw to produce. And so we have to always be thinking ahead. We can't, plan this tomorrow. So.
But what about the thought that local fruits are expensive? In fact, sometimes people argue, we rather pay more for imported product than the local price, simply because of the quality of the product. Apart from that, we're speaking to a local processing plant as well, a cost that will be incurred. How have you been able to balance that thought from consumers that local products are expensive, whilst also being able to create or market your product to set consumer?
Yeah. So you have to look at the value, right? What do you value? So, for instance, guava. Guava has 400% more vitamin C than berries. So, when you're buying local, you're getting a higher nutritional value, and really pound for pound, when you compare our fruits, it's actually more affordable, or at least comparative to the imported frozen fruits. There's also less wastage. You have you can keep the product frozen for a longer period of time. But I mean, for local brands to really become more affordable in the mind of the consumer, it takes, the local consumers to support us for a period of time. It helps us scale, it helps us grow. And, scalability is a big part of your pricing. So if we're able to scale and have the demand, of course we can bring our prices down. Of course we can, extend that and pass that on to the consumer. But initially, for local businesses, it's a very high cost when you're starting and the demand is low, right? So with imported items, the brands are well known; these are billion-dollar companies. But with anything else, support your own. It's the first step to really helping all of us grow. And nutritionally, it's just way better. So and it tastes better.
I'd also like to add as well. I mean, you have to also look at the intrinsic value of that. When you spend your money or you spend your dollar on a local product, the money circulates right here, right? It goes right back into the economy, and that's where there's even more value, which otherwise if you're buying imported, part of it might go back, but you're guaranteed that this is going back to a farmer, and he's going to spend his money elsewhere. So it's really that added value as well that comes with buying local.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Thomas, let me ask you on that particular point. Does the demand exist? Because if I wanted to buy a local fruit, I could simply go purchase fresh fruit rather than frozen. So does the demand actually exist for these frozen products?
Could you repeat that, sorry?
Does the demand actually exist for these frozen products? Because if I want
products, yes. Yeah. There's definitely been a very steep increase in terms of people have definitely gone into smoothie making because it's an easy way to get your dose of vitamins, minerals on the go. Right? Children like it, which is also a very important part. So it's a good way to get them to eat our fruits in their diet.
And just to add to seasonality, so you can't get passion fruit all year. You can't get guava all year. So this is a great way, even for restaurants. We service a lot of restaurants, and they're able to confidently sell a mango margarita, all year. They don't have to wait till mango's in season. And our mango is way more flavorful than the imported mangoes. So, it just all adds up to us.
It's 20 past. It's 20 past 7 in the morning, and now I'm feeling for a mango. Mr. Thomas, back to you on that point, and an excellent point too as well, Ms. Renie, with respect to seasonality. Yeah, that's an issue that we face. Fruits that are out of season, we want to import, but what about in terms of regional export? What percentage of your output actually goes towards regional export?
Right now, we are at 15% of our revenue towards regional exports. We're hoping to grow that to about 30% by the end of the year. And we're seeing a demand in tourism markets as well. You know, a foreigner isn't flying all the way across the country to have a berry, right? They can have that in their backyard. So they're coming here to have a guava mojito or have a passion fruit, cocktail. So in those tourism sectors, we're seeing opportunities, we're seeing demand for it, and we're hoping that the rest of the Caribbean, supports this. So when we say we preserve in the Caribbean way of life, we hope to, develop supply chains across the Caribbean. There's mango being wasted or food waste all across the Caribbean with some of our local fruits. So we're trying to find ways to add value to it, to preserve it, but also be marketable. As you could see, our packaging is, we are competing against big imported companies. So we need to make sure that we're also marketable and attractive to the consumer. But it's also, how do we get that, changing the palette as well? We think strawberries or berries are more premium or more high-end, but when you look at it just nutritionally or just taste-wise, people are flying all across the world to have guava here, so...
I actually find it very hard to get guava, so I'm going to have to speak to you guys a bit off air after this.
No problem.
Mr. Thomas, I think you mentioned deeper inroads earlier with a target of Europe as well. Where are you with respect to that? I know you said you guys are trying to put everything in place. Is it all set that Europe is your next big target?
Our next target?
Yes.
Yeah. So, right now we're looking at St. Lucia, Curacao. Those are where there's a heavy tourist influx. Again, because we want to show them what the Caribbean has to offer. And the reason why that's why we use the word Caribbean, that, it's really just not Trinidad alone, but just the Caribbean has a lot to offer, and that's what we want to push as well. So we're looking at those kind of markets right now. That's on our radar, immediate radar, I should say.
Yeah. We hope to obviously enter into like the Canadian or European markets where they would love to have, a Caribbean frozen fruits and have their smoothies, So that's the long-term goal, of course. And I think we're a lot closer to that than we thought. I mean, who knew the pandemic would just catapult us into this next level of business? We're a very young company in terms of farm and function. So I think we have a lot more to offer.
You mentioned earlier that you supply quite a number of local restaurants as well. Is it that that is also an area for deeper focus, the food service industry?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we really want the food service to support our local brand. We've actually showed them pound for pound that it's more affordable. We can actually customize more for them. So like if they want a 25-pound bag or a 5-pound bag, we can actually customize it because we're local, and we can innovate and pivot a lot faster than, an imported item. So food service is definitely a sector, and we're hoping that they will, that they offer their customers something more exciting, To be honest, you're tired going to a restaurant and there isn't that much local options in terms of just beverages or cocktails and things like that. So, and a lot of syrups, they're made with like syrups, there's a lot of sugars, there's no added sugar, but it's naturally sweet. So, you're kind of helping the consumer, just be healthier overall. So... And there are a lot more health food restaurants opening up as well that really support this type of lifestyle. So,
well, that's one reason to go and enjoy yourself a healthy daiquiri. All right, Mr. Thomas, back to you now. Let me ask you, how does Farm and Function TT enable local farmers?
How we work with them?
Enable local farmers.
Yeah, well, repeat that last part, sorry.
How would Farm and Function TT enable local farmers?
Okay, well, I mean, actually, the farmers, a lot of them actually reach out to us through our marketing because they are looking for a steady market. And that's what we want to provide. We want to know the farmers to rest assured that, okay, if you're producing this amount of product, we can take it and because we're processing and you don't have to, deal with the fluctuations in the open market and all that. And it's really for us we both will grow with that approach. And that's what a lot of farmers are attracted to that model because, again, they don't like having to deal with the fluctuation and they want to know they have a guaranteed price and they can concentrate on production and we can concentrate on the processing. So it's a really symbiotic relationship we kind of try to have with the farmers where everybody wins. That's really what we want. We don't want to be perceived as taking advantage of the farmers or whatever, but it's really a win-win situation that we're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Well, that's very interesting, the fact that farmers are reaching out to you guys more than you all are reaching out to farmers. I think that speaks a lot as to the current climate and the current state of our agricultural sector. But, Ms. Renie, speak to us about some of the challenges you would have faced. I mean, locally farmers have said they don't think they receive the support. There are not enough avenues. The land space is there, but the land space is not being developed because you would expect that given TNT's environment, even our soil, you would see acreage of farms, as pointed out by one individual to me prior to this interview. Speak to us about those challenges that Farm and Function TT faces, but also shares with farmers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's external risks of like climate change. So we see things like, more prevalent flooding, drier periods. So there's those external challenges that we do face with the farmers. And again, it's about planning ahead. With any farmer, they know that, it takes 9 months to grow, develop a pawpaw fruit. So they can't start this now for now. They have to protect. We've been able to support farmers where in drier periods we help them dig ponds or get access to water supply for the following year. We do so because we are accessing new markets. Food safety is a big part of our process, and food safety culture in the Caribbean is how we become more competitive, right? We're competing with bigger brands, so we have to be able to be food safe for the consumer. So even our farmers, working with them to become GAP certified, to focus more around food safety, those were some of the challenges at first, but they're so eager and they're so open to learning if it means improving their output. We can't solve it overnight, but our hope is that, through our other companies, we work with a lot of other SMEs and agro-processors, and our model of building that supply chain, we're hoping that we can pass this on to other agro-processors, because we really need to create that network and that community around production, around quality, around food safety. And if we set that standard, it puts us into a whole new world of opportunity. But I mean, there are a lot of challenges, but I will say that every farmer who has started with us has significantly grown with us over the last few years. So they've been able to increase their output. We help them even with efficiencies to be more profitable, more time saving, sharing of resources. So knowledge sharing is a big part of combating some of the mistakes or the challenges that the local agriculture faces. And there are a lot of stakeholders and agencies that have supported as well and provided resources for us to share with farmers. So, but with anything in business, it's all around relationship. It's about being a part of a similar cause. And I think with David and myself over the years, we've been able to communicate clearly and shown results to our farmers. And I think that helps them, see opportunities, even just their branding and packaging design. We have another design company through Market Movers that we do packaging and branding for some local farmers as well to help their products get into Massey or get into different grocery stores. So it's really about knowledge sharing, I think, and and acknowledging the mistakes or the challenges. And I like that you asked that question because, sometimes we can get caught up in the all the positive outcomes, but there are real challenges that we face being a small island, being where we're located and everything. So we need to really figure out how we're gonna, protect ourselves and future-proof our business and, our network.
Ms. Renie, very quickly, you would just... all that, I'm glad that you've mentioned that, but I'm curious in terms of a price point because with fertilizer prices fluctuating globally, even with floods also across Transvago, does your price point fluctuate, or is it easy because you actually plan in advance that you're able to set price points?
Yeah, so we're able to manage those costs for sure because we plan ahead, right? So it's yes, there are variabilities from year to year, but I think again with partnerships is working with different methodologies or managing the inputs and getting the best value out of their production, right? So it does fluctuate, but we've been able to keep our prices pretty affordable over the last few years. So,
Mr. Thomas, final question goes to you, sir. The export hurdles, have you all faced any difficulties when it comes to exporting your product regionally? At this point, it's regionally, soon to be across the world.
Yeah, there are special challenges, especially when you're doing frozen. All right, it's just not just just putting stuff in a container and it gets there whenever. You have to really maintain that cold chain throughout the entire journey of the product, and you can't have any slip-ups with that. And so that's one of the major challenges we face, like finding sufficient cold chain providers or shipping to the particular islands, I would say, and that kind of limits us in terms of where we can go, having to find those particular lines. That's our major challenge, I would say, really finding a line that can maintain the cold chain throughout the entirety of the journey of the product. It has been a little bit of a challenge. It has been that is a major factor.
Yeah.
When we consider a destination.
Well, Ms. Renie and Mr. Thomas, I want to thank you very much for the service that you're doing, your relationship with local farmers and boosting local products to regional markets. Excellent work on your part, and thank you very much for joining me this morning. Don't take away my business idea of healthy daiquiris, all right? But I promise you we'll have to share one soon enough.
Yeah. Anytime you're ready, just let us know.
Certainly will let you guys know. Well, it's not too much my idea. I kind of just took it from Ms. Renie, but we'll sort this out off air. For now, guys, take care, keep well, and all the very best.
Yes, thank you for having us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Certainly.